Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Now let's discuss about content segment. Experience segments were created below the content experience segment hierarchy. If I go over here and if I show you the CRX/DE here, you would see that the hierarchy for your experience segment was content and then it was experience segment. Here C2 and then your E and U. This folder was automatically created and this is what we created yesterday. Now, if I talk about your content segments are created below the assets folder only, where we upload our images, PDF, all that where the digital assets are being managed. Here I have my file folder and here I have my Tojo project. This is a folder. Here if you will go create, either you can upload any file like the way we uploaded an image or PDF. In the same way, you can create content. Now, the same way we create pages, we create experience segment. In the same way, we create a content segment as well by using a template only. There has to be a template for creating a content segment. But here that template is not called a template, but we call it as content segment. Here I am going to select my content segment model, just a technical term that is in which is content segment model. Now, why should we use content segment? Let me first show you how you use it and how you create it. Here I am going to select my content. Segment model means the template. Here I selected the template, but it is called as content segment model. And if I will do next, if I will say title is my first CFO. Let me open this. What you see is that there is a text area over there. You see this text area. How does this text area came is because we selected or we chose that template or the content segment model. That content segment model or that template only allows us to have this text area as part of this content segment. Can you one more time? Can you go back? Because that when I created a content segment, it was the ask for or asked me for this. Since I selected this content segment model or the template, that is why I got this text area only. Now, the thing with the template was out of the box. Or yes, the template was out of the box. I will show you now only how we will create your own. This with content segment like with experience segment. You can use any of the component like the way you use it on pages. But content segments are different here in content segment. The purpose of content segment is also the same like we have for experience segment. The purpose is again the same. It means that one page is you can. On multiple pages, you can use the same content. That is the purpose on multiple pages. You can further wrap up this content segment and it can be used on multiple pages. And again there is a component. In the same way, yesterday, we have a component with the name experience segment that is out of books available to refer the experience segment in the same way. Adobe also provided out-of-the-box component to refer the content on the pages, and that component is called a content segment. That's content segment. Now, if I will create, this is my content fragment here. Just this, and let me just align it to center. Before that, you want to make it. Let me just save. This is my content fragment ready. Now if I have to refer it, how will I do it? I will go to pages. I will go to sites. I will go to totally project. You will new page here. Let's try. Let's use this page, and here you will get an out of books component to refer your content. Here you have the content out of books component, and if you will open this, you will select automatically. It gave me the damp path because by default Adobe also close it. Know that we look at them only. You see, we created my first content segment below this part content and go to. That's what I'm selecting over here at content, and this is what I selected. And let's say rest of the things are something like again. There's a variation thing that the one that we discussed, and here our text comes up. With the headlining can be created only under done. When I will tell you there is a purpose behind this, there is a reason behind this. Why Adobe has suggested or why Adobe has not suggested, they have made a constraint only that you can create a content, and then I will tell you what. Firstly, let's discuss on how you create content segment model here. We created the content segment and we'd have put it on the page. We have put this on the page. Now let me show you how you can create a content segment model, that is templates for content. Here you go. Here you see that there is an assets where we created our content text. And I told you that this hammer icon is all where the authors or where the developers can do the configuration thing. If I will go to the hammer icon, here you see there is an asset. Here all the configuration with respect to assets are being done basically with respect to content segment. Also any configuration or basically the model that we have to create, we will create it over here. Remember, the actual things are being done over here behind the scenes. You remember, even the replication also was over here. Because all the configuration or the means behind the scenes, things are being done in this hammer icon. They go to the assets here. You will see that there is an option to create content section model. Remember one thing, I think I told you. All your templates, whether it's your page, whether it's an experience, or whether it's your template for your content segment, that is content segment model. You can create your content segment. If you go to content segment, you can see that your content segment is created below the content segment. If I go over here, if I go to content segment here, you see that your folder is not appearing over here, the con folder. You can see it. It took me to the con folder, but your folder is not appearing over here. But if you will see, in the CFCE, there is your folder to you because that was by default created. If I go over here, it was by default over code base. It got created. If I go over here and it will be as a part of your UI content, as I see main content, you see the con folder. The con below that con is here. Similarly, below the CRFC, you have content also. This con is also a part of UI content. Now here, I have this folder over here. Then why is it not visible over here? Because firstly, I have to authorize my folder that it should be able to create content fragments. Model. Firstly, I need to give an authority to my folder that it should be able to create content fragments model. Here, you see, as of now, if I go over here, you have this Dojo settings WCM. But that's done. I will give my this Dojo folder that authority that it has the authority to create content. Fragment model. Then you will see a new folder below settings will get created. Let me just show it to you. If I will go over here, let's see how the authority is being here. Where the authority has to be given, it's inside the configuration, the con folder, con dojo folder. There is a below the general. If I go to the hammer, I can below the general. There is this configuration problem, which takes us to browse and manage your configuration. If I will go over here, you firstly select your dojo project. You see, the folder again is formed and here I selected this. Below this, you just have to give the authority. If I will click on the properties here, it says that the dojo folder has the authority to create editable templates and some other things, but not content. Fragment model. I will select this and in a minute you will see because settings and new folder will get created by the name DAM. If I will save and close and if I will refresh it, you see there is a DAM folder created and now I have given the authority to my this folder that it should be able to create my content fragment. Again, I'm showing it to you. I went to this hammer icon. Inside the general there is a configuration powder which takes us to the con folder. Only you know this con folder. The first step with the quality to my folder. It should be able to create these many types of files by default. Of course, that table template was already checked, but I was content and segment model was not checked. If I will go again, you see now this we are again checked. You want that? Firstly, I gave the authority. The next thing that I will do is I will go over here and then I have again both my assets and my content segment model. And here I have my now. You can see the project came earlier. It was not over here. Now it came. Now you can go over here and you can create your content segment model over here. If I will go, let me give it a name first. First year model. This is my content. I'm going to let me just create this. Let me open this. Now you see how simple you find. Let me just again open it. I don't know how this URL it is. Check back in on this and again. Now you see how simple is this. To pass a field, like if you want to add some single text field, just let's single text name. But like, let me name it as me. This is a problem, just name. Diverging. Time is now. I am going to create a good one with special optimized link. I will show the arm. If you are building a self-chain ads and that is not the use case, that is it. This should be fine. It has summiting as well. It's mostly similar to how you were doing it in edit dialog. That was in the dialog, but this is the one content video. It is quite similar. If I use over here, go to. Let's add another type number. Data type will be of. The data type will be number and field will be like simple. Remember this property name. I will tell you what is. Now type can be integer or fraction. Let's say default values, let's say 0 required if you want. Let me just save it. Now let me just save it. That's how simple it was to create a content segment model. You just drag and drop. Your fields are available over there. Again, I'm showing you all the steps because sometimes you get people get confused. Firstly, you have to give that quality to create your content segment model below your own photos. Remember all your templates, whether you're a table, whether you're paid or experience segments, or whether your content segment template, which is content model, are created with a bonfire. To create anything below the con for our people, they have to give that quality in the composition. Well, I'll give that. Nor we created the content fragment model in conflict. And then this, I don't think we have created anything. This is the first time. But experience fragment. What did you say? What should go into conf hierarchy? Which one? On the experience. No, on products content experience. See all the content and we go and say the content hierarchy. Whether it's experienced fragment, whether it's your DAM, whether it's your pages, everything. See here, you will see that there will be forms as well. If you will create any form, that will also go away. Everything will go into the phone. We firstly gave the permission. Once you have given the permission, then we have to do some configuration changes again. Basically, we have to create our content segment model. We went to that as that. And then we went inside this. And then we went back to the content segment model. We created our content segment model. Here you see our content segment model is great. Now again, let's go back to the starting. So let's go back to the starting and now again create a content segment by using our content segment model. Now there is one more step. Firstly, are you clear with the steps till now? Then only I will proceed because there's one more step where if I will go below the assets files. Now, if you have to create your content segment below this, you created this and you are having that content segment model. Now your content segment model you have already created. Once you will create any new content segment, you should get the option to use that content segment model. If I will create a content segment model, unfortunately still you won't be able to create your content segment model. You will not be able to see your content. You are able to see your first content segment model. That's great. I will tell you, by default you should not see it, but somewhere I've given the configuration. I will tell you about that later. Here now, if you will go and create the content segment, you can now select your content segment model. Here I selected my content segment model and do next. Let me give it as my second. And open. Now you see you get all those options that we create that we use in our that. Now enter name. Let me say and let's say the age. Let me just save it. And now your new content segment is ready. That new content segment model that you create. Now again, you can use this content segment. Now the important thing, this was the concept of content segment. Now, one thing or one question that would have arisen in your mind is that you could have done the same thing to experience. Like we are only able to input text and some number field and some date and or some boolean. But those can be done through any of the component to the experience segment as well, because it doesn't support out of box on one end. It only supports the tech, because here you cannot have any other image or cannot have anything. It can just have text within it. There are also a few if you have realized. Then, while creating the content segment model there, you only have the limited option to create different type of fields. Let me just show it to you. There you could only create some limited type of fields. Again, I'm going to content segment model project. And here, if you would see, if I again try to edit, you see that I only have these type of, but then you can refer some content segment as well for single line tag, multi-line number. There were volume. There were total volume. There were volume and data and animation, but these are the only field that you can use in a content. It means that you can only input somehow. I can say that you can only text in it. You can reference. What is that? Again, you can represent content segment from this content. Fine if within this your content pigment, if you want to differ some other content, that is also what you can do. Now the main thing is content fragment is that you can only input some text within it. Neither you can use any other custom or out-of-box component. Neither you can input any image. Now, if this is the thing, then what is the exact purpose of using content fragments? Because this is somehow we can achieve through experience fragments as well. Because experience fragments also, if we have some component which helps us in inputting some text, like text component, opened only, or the title component also, we can do the same thing. Neither we can have any styling over here. There at least we were able to use. In experience segment, we were able to use our own custom component. We have our own styling also over there. Our JS and CSS was also getting loaded. Our styling was also applied over there. But here it's just simple text. Now, what is the purpose? The purpose is when you have to use AEM as a headless CMS for content as a service. There the content fragments are very much used. When I say headless CMS, let me give you an example, like consider an ICICI bankruptcy. Now consider that they say that we are already on some React based application or some other application, but our content, like these speakers, change a lot. Like these speakers 500 and under, like their percentage amount, and these keep on changing. Now what will happen, since these speakers, these amounts keep on changing? What they will say is that behind the scene we can use AEM, and to content fragment we can expose these values, and of course on content fragment we can change the values at any time. Like here, if you want, you can go to this content fragment and you can change any value at any point in time. Here the age is 20. If you say consider it was percentage or anything, now the age has to be changed. Now age can be changed at any time. Now somehow, if this content from that content fragment can be exposed to the outside world and ICICI Bank can somehow access that content, that would be really great, because then they can automatically change the values in the content fragment and then can access that value and can refer, or sorry, that value will start reflecting over here. But also the localization, no. Multilingual thing, maybe that can also be, but the primary thing is like this. Like here, you want to expose content where the front and is built on some other application behind the scene. You want to expose some figures or some value or some text to the other parties using to the other parties. How will you do? That is, the content fragment provides a way through which we can expose the content within this content fragment in a JSON format. That JSON will be exposed to the outside board. This whole JSON will be exposed to the outside border, and this ICICI Bank website will make an HTTP call to that API to the URL. That will be that I will show you now and will access that JSON. And once they access that JSON, they can read that JSON and further get the values, and they can update it over here. Now how that JSON first will be formed? Let's see. Let's again go back. We have our content fragment ready over here. We have our content fragment ready over here. Now how to expose this is basically the best is we can use experience fragments again. Let me create an experience fragment and within experience fragment. As we know, within experience fragment, we can use any component. Within the experience segment, let me create an experience segment and let me say expose here the experience fragment. Here, the purpose of this experience segment is to expose here for the content fragment. That's what is the purpose. Let me just create it. Let me open it. Now we already know. Let me just the URL. Now we already know the experience segment is nothing but pages. It can use all the components. Of course, it can also use the content fragment component. Here I again use the content fragment on this experience segment and I will refer the content fragment that I just created. We do the closure folder. And here is my content segment. I selected this and let's say, here all the fields are appearing. Now, how will you expose it? What you have to do is just say the ICICI Bank that you use the URL localhost or whatever, like your publisher URL it is. Content experience segment all. Here master instead of HTML write models in. Simple. And you see, your whole content is exposed in the JSON format. This is all in the JSON format. To showcase it in a better way, you can ask them to write tidy as well. Here today, moderation. You see, now it is appearing all good in the JSON format, and if you will scroll down, you see it gave you the whole information. You see this is Tojo name. You remember what was Tojo name? Tojo address. The name that we gave inside the content fragment model, and these are the values that we inputted. You see Tojo name. This is the value that we inputted. It's a text change. That's why it is appearing like this, Tojo address. Similarly, the Tojo age is 30. If you change anything inside your content fragment, let me change it inside my content fragment. Let me just edit this. Let's see. If I update the age to 35 and stay here, and if I will refresh it, you see that Tojo age is 30. Now the ICICI Bank will access this URL as an HTTP call from their front end, anywhere from the back end front end. They can read this JSON and they will see that this is the JSON key, the value, and they will read the value for this. Now question is now, you showed me how to expose this content fragment outside. Now, similarly, if I have a page, instead of experience fragment, I have a page and I want to add some content fragment to that page. And then the similar URL I can do. But that page is, oh, you mean to say if in a page we can expose a page, if we can expose a content fragment. See, the best practice is that you do it through your experience fragments. You can do it, but what happens is then you have to give your permission that your page can also, like your page, can also be accessed. This is your page. Now you can either you should give a permission that it can only be accessed as an extension HTML. If you will give that, even the JSON extension can also be accessed. These sort of permissions that you have to give, and that is being given at the dispatcher level. I told you about dispatcher now. I think I told you a bit. This is the dispatcher layer which does the load balancing and all, but it also does the filtering of the request. It prevents any vulnerability. You can see that this is the request from coming inside your server. We give a proper rule that any path with all extensions, or we give a proper condition where we say that these all the what we filter will be used to apply, that every request should be logged and some should be allowed to coming. And within that, what all should be allowed there. Only we have to give that the content to geopath and all the other things. We can say that our content to geopath, like our site path, is content to geo You say that content to geopath can be accessed from the outside world. And then we'll give what should be the extension. It is not a best practice that you should be able. Anyone can be able to access your pages using the JSON extension. That is why best thing that you expose it using the experience. Now it's the experience fragment. Let's say I have, besides Skype, I have a lot of other things to do. I can say I want to have content fragment. I have other things also like image or different things. Other components also. Let's say, and then when I give the master dot, when I expose that will not be exposed because seen a JSON, can you expose the image? Can you expose any styles? Can you expose any JS? Can you expose the styles that are being applied on the page? Can you? You can expose the styles that are being applied on the page. You can only expose text in the JSON. For path, we can know if they want. Here, if you gave a path here, if you give in the address, you can give some path that you can do. That, of course, you can do. Where is here? If I added this here in the path, you can give like here in the address. You can give some products like content. Know what I was understood. Now, if I have images and everything in the experience, let's say, and if I create the JSON, what will happen? It will try that by your own. It will not pick is what it will not pick, of course. It all depends upon how that component. Your component would have a lot of styling, would have a lot of div tag. Because ultimately in a component, in a customer in an auto book company, there would be an HTML that would be working. That is the site and that's it. You would have please multiple div or multiple tags. Of course, those cannot be exposed. Experience fragment will only look for the content fragment and really take that one and put it in the JSON. Yes, that's how it works. That's how it's be exposed. Or it totally exposed the content. You'll see in the JSON. What else you can pass? Can you pass it? Can you pass some image? Can you pass any styling? Can you pass any JS? No, only text can be passed. If you have written any in that way. That is a rule that our experience fragment will only look for content fragment and put in JSON another one. It's like this. Basically, the content from the content segment is exposed, but to expose the content from the content we use experience. Within the experience segment, we place our content segment. Experience segment is just a mediator which helps us in exposing the content of the content. In all the organizations, they do not expose the JSON format of their pages. That is, of course, not at all recommended. Neither you should do it. If you want to expose the JSON environment, only expose it for experience, because from there, only you want it to expose your content from the content segment. You know what, Sarav? I think many organizations may just use this content fragment a lot of, let's say, hundreds of content fragments. They will just put it and then expose using like this. And because it's a very, for example, I see a website, is they're not going to use a EM or similar, I agree with you. I won't. I have seen, see what happens. Either there are the content websites, either the EM is handling all the content and EM is the content which, or there is some other tool that is content and you at EM are only exposing the content. That I have seen. Even there are companies which buy EM just for managing their content. Nothing else. That's going to be the use case. What happens in those companies? They only expose the content and they only use EM to keep their assets and manage those that the other application, which is on which the main website is built. It can access the assets from your EM. EM is only used for them. Even within Adobe, for example, the project I'm working on, they have this Adobe Admin Console in that also they are using EM, but only for localization. And then I saw that they have this content fragments and they retrieve that content fragment for localization. Just localize that content, only labels all the page levels. It needs to be a display in different languages when accessed from different places. It should show all the labels and everything you should put in show in different language. They are only using content fragment. They're not using anything else. I agree with you, see, but EM provides a lot of other tools as well. Like we have Adobe Forms. Adobe Forms does not come by default with EM. You have to buy a separate license for them. And then what they do is they provide you with a package for that. And then you install that package in your EM. Adobe Forms also, it doesn't come directly with EM. You have to buy a license for that separately. If you go and just buy the license for EM, then you won't be able to use the EM form. You would be able to use some limited functionality, not the whole functionality. Why didn't the Adobe Forms? It will just basically create like Google Forms or anything similar. Yes, it's like that only. The only thing is like here in HTML, it's like a PDF form. For example, how you develop form is by using a whole HTML, like you write the form tag and then the input fields or button field like those. That is all HTML based. But here again, for developing the front end part of the form, you again use the components. You use the parent component, which allows you to. You have the form tag and then the child component, which is the input type, the radio button, any button, all those things. All those are like again the drag and drop, that is for component. Let's come back. This was all about the content fragments, how you expose content fragments and all. Basically, we use this is a variation. You see again, this is a variation for the experience. And then you use .model and .json TD. I use because I have to write it displayed in the best, like in a better manner. If you remove tidy, then also it will give you the JSON, but not in the best possible. What happens? Just one more thing I have to tell you, then you can ask. Here, remember what I did is till this point. It was URL. This is all URL. What is this after dot? This is after dot, there is one text. Again, there is a dot. Then there is one text and then there is dot. Then this is, of course, we know this is extension because whatever comes after the last dot is extension. But what do we call these? These are called as selectors. We call these as selectors. Whatever comes after dot and before the last dot of extension between these, it is all selectors. Here I have two selectors. It's just a terminology which I'm telling you. And if I remove this, which I will talk a bit more when we will discuss what's of it here, I have this one select. Whenever you in a URL, you see that this is the URL after dot. It's not a single text, but there are multiple dots. And then after the last dot, it is extension. And between there, it is all selectors. You know, oh, it is step. You were saying, asking something. Please go ahead. The publishing part. You said any restriction, I mean of certain types only, can be published or anything can be published to the. No, anything can be published. See, when I say you have to publish, you only publish your content. Whatever you publish, whatever goes or whatever you see folder inside the UI content, those are only published. You see, you have them, you have experience. And then there's a content which is your actual site. Similarly, your font as well. But most of the time, font is a part of your code, your content only. And some companies tend to check these things like checking into their code. Here, we created this here. If I will show you your content segment model was created over here. WCM, then sorry not CM, below the tab. Here you see CFM. CFM is content segment model. And here is our model, the first CFM. Here are all our nodes. Now some companies tend to make it a part of your content and some companies also checks in this. The best practice is that you make it a part of content. Now, whatever is a part of content that is checked in, everything that goes, whatever is content that is not checked in, that is always replicated. Whatever goes below the content, you will always replicate it. Apps, apps, it's all your code. Code is never replicated. Code is always deployed separately on separate instance. Here we are deploying the code on author. We are deploying the code separately on 3 publisher instance. Code is all what goes inside the app. You do not replicate it. It means whatever it goes inside the content hierarchy you replicate and something that goes inside conc, that also you replicate. Inside apps, you never replicate anything because you never even get the option to replicate it. The code doesn't have to be present in the publish because here itself we have code is deployed separately. Code you have to deploy separately and also separately on publisher. Content is something that you will create on the server and then it is replicated to the publisher. Content is either your DAM asset, your pages, your experience segment, your content segment. Everything that goes below content is all a part of your server and that is always replicated. That is never checked. You make content duplicate means publish to publish. That's what I said, not application activation publication. Everything is safe. Now you also mentioned the code is already published separately. What does that mean? No, what is not published separately? Code is deployed like the way we are deploying the code. It is deployed separately. It is not published. Don't use that. Oh, I see what you're saying. Deploying, you have to deploy the code on 45.2. Similarly, you have to separately deploy the code on 45.3 or other publisher. Now when we deploy, when we publish a content. For example, a page and publishing. Now page has multiple components. Now the publishing time itself. It will process, compile, render. Finally, it will put a HTML to the publishing time. It will put a HTML to the publishing time. This is the code that is being used in the publishing instance. Then where the code will be used in the publishing instance, because already it's processed in the other side. Publish the content. It means that in your publisher instead you activated this page Tujo. Tujo, you activated this content. And consider you activated this home page or new page. Now you activated this new page. This page will get updated. You can see the page is not in the publishing instance, but it is activated and will be available on the publishing instance. And behind the scene, it is saying that it has to make the use of this resource type to render these nodes. From where does this resource will come? The rendering. Rendering will not happen at the time of no. The only responsibility is to make your page available on the publisher. Before replicating anything, your code should be available. Then only the thing will be available. No, this. Replication process will be there. Process from other will not convert this page into an HTML file. Will not do that. This is your page. This is your page. New page. You are replicating this to this page will be available over there. If you will open this page on the publisher, if your board is not deployed, what will happen? Your Sling will do that. It will say that I have to render this page. Below that, it has many nodes. Let me render these as well. Once it will go and see there is a node with name this, and it will be rendered by using this is all. It will say that whether this is available or not. It will say no, there is not available. The page will fail its execution. Page will be available. The HTML will be available for this page. But it's not won't be rendered because how this node will be rendered, how node for this will be rendered. The code for that is not available on the publisher and it says to now. Know that I got it. What I was thinking is it will see your page will be available on the publishers. What are you doing? What I was thinking is this component, what you showed no sources type dojo slice. Come on and throw the world. That odd will run here itself. At the time of public publishing, it will run and it will make the final output to do Linda great everything. Your shit instance is what I thought in that case. At the instance, this resource code won't be necessary is what I was thinking. This resource type dojo, come on, dojo world. That if it's processed here the other time, then it won't be necessary to be present there. In that way, we don't need the code to be deployed there. Code still needs to be there. Where are you confused like C? Let me just say it again. When you replicate what you will replicate. You will replicate only your page. Now for executing this page, you need to execute or your AIM need to execute all these nodes. Execution is not happening at the time. You know you have a lot of obligation. Execution is not happening. That's what rendering. How is the execution happen? Execution is the responsibility of server. How is the execution is the responsibility of the server. Rendering the page is not happening. Rendering is the responsibility of server. Replication responsibility is only to make your page available. The one we saw, whenever we were looking at, that was only preview, maybe the one we were after. That we will look into sector the server or 4, 4, 5, 0, 3 or 0, 2. We were looking at the publisher. Oh, that is the reason you are showing there. Now I'm getting it here. Here, no rendering happening. It's just putting it there. Just as responsibility of replication is just to make your content available on publisher instance. It will package your page. It will put that page over here, nothing else. See, for rendering anything, you need your tools, you need server, you need your job, everything. Oh, replication agent can do that thing now. You need to have your code available on your server. Your content will be available on the server through that to your application agents. Once you have your code, then only the page will be executed. If you have your content without the code, how will the content will be rendered without the code? Because ultimately within this pool, within this content, it is the code only. Code is there in the author instance also, but it will not use that code to render at the time of publishing. Code has to be deployed separately. Thank you.
What is the company that this particular supervisory organization will be associated with? What all organizations are allowed and what you want to be default. You can leave this blank as well. For example, I want this department. Ankita Corporation is going to be a finance department. I'm going to select the allowed company. And then if now we haven't created anything, so yes, it's default, MPG company. So we are going to create company and cost centers as well. And we are then post that we can edit it and we can define it here. So because first, whenever you are going to create supervisory organization is a basic building block. You can leave this blank and later on you can come. Once you have created the organization, various companies, centers, regions, you can come here and default them. So as of now, I'm just for the sake of information, I've defaulted it and later on we will create the company and cost center like we are creating supervisory organization and we will default them here. We'll come back and edit it. So are we going to? Should we not create the cost center first? Because we need that, the company and cost center. We will have it. We will create it. Once we will create it, then we will come back and assign it here. The other question is, are we going to continue? So now we did supervisory organization staffing model. Then we are going to go to job profile compensation security in this process. That's it. That's a different model. We will go step by step. So just now we are creating how the supervisory organizations are created. We are looking into that. We can select position, a job also job. Yes, anything you can select. So anything, you can select either position or job. See, first you selected the reorg, second you selected supervisory. On a plain paper or a plain board, can you do it with arrows like first the reorg, then the supervised organization and all, so that we can put a printout on our desk, so that whenever you're telling we are relating to that. I know it's a first class, second class. It's confusing. We will do it. Once we are into the system means complete. Once we have completely created all the organization types, then I will give you a clear picture. I will give you an activity that will have full configurations, and then I will go through that activity drop as well, and with all kind of pictorial diagram if you want. Just now we are just building the basic score. Concepts of the HCM, we are trying to create them. The detailing the default, doing the defaults and all everything. We can go ahead and edit it. We can change it. It's not like that we have created and we cannot go back and change them. We can edit it. Because supervisory organization will be created first. Anyhow, if you are going to work in a client also, customer for a customer also, you won't have company or cost center when you are creating the supervisory organization. So first basic building block, as already told, supervisory organization. So first we will create it and then we will create company, hierarchy, cost centers, arrest all the organization structures. And then we are going to default them here. We edit it and we will default them here. Now I think I have a small question here. So under the assigned role, you did not put anything. So it is coming automatically. Or what? Yes, it is coming automatically. It's defined within the system as well. That I will. Just when we are dealing with the security part, I will show you how these defaults comes. So now we are just concentrating over the creation of the supervisory organization. Now identify if there are any identifiers like government IDs or any kind of things country. What kind of government IDs are needed for that particular country? You can mention it here. Like for India, PAN card, Aadhaar card, SNN number for USA. So you can mention everything here now. This completes, these are the parts of my supervisory organization. And this completes the creation of my supervisory organization. I will click on. Means clicking in Workday means you are saving it. You are saving your changes. This is the position which you have selected. So it depends on the client. We will select job management or position management. Yes. Client will say like, yes. They will tell that I want my supervisor or my organization structure based on the job management job profiles. Then you are going to create job management. They don't know job management or position management. This is something that Workday consultant knows. Client only wants. Client will come up and say in the requirement document that I want my organization structure to do hiring based on the job profile. So Workday consultant knows that if they want the job hiring to be done on job profile, then that's going to be job management. And if they want the hiring to be done on positions, then that's going to be position management. They don't know the technical terms. They only know the process that I want this. I want that technicality. Everything needs to be taken care by the consultants only. So how we decide, like we have to select position or job. I know, they have. Client doesn't, because client doesn't know. See, they will tell you that I want my organization to do hiring based on the job profiles. If they say that means job management. If they told us that I want specific positions, they will give you a set of positions that I want these positions to be created for my organizations. If they have provided you specific positions, then that means you are going to create position management. They will provide you a generic requirement. They will give you a generic requirement. And it's you, the consultant, who is going to define the technicality of what needs to be updated regarding that, what needs to be created in backend. Now I have clicked on and I saved my supervisory organization, as you can see here, Ankita Corporation Department, because I created it as a subtype S department. Now I have selected the checkbox that the manager name should be displayed here against my organization name, so Jacqueline name is being displayed here. Now type, I have selected a supervisory because I have created a supervisory organization. Organization ID, you can see here automatically, Workday has created it. Now coming to the next tab. Members tab here. Whenever you will hire the person, any person that is completely hired in an organization, it will reflect under the Members tab. Always remember, if you are hiring, it's successful. If you have hired it, then it will come up under the Members tab. Now coming to the Details tab, it will have your availability date, type, subtype, code, visibility, primary location. A staffing model. As of now, I have selected a staffing model as position management. So my staffing model has been reflected here. At this stage, if I want to change any information, for example under the details, if I want to change the department, is it possible? Yes, everything can be changed. I will show you. So, here you can see all the roles. Then the security groups that is open for this particular organization. Supervisory organization, organization assignments. What all organization assignments you have defaulted or allowed for this particular supervisory organization. We are going to create this as well. Company cost center, everything and any kind of additional data that you have mentioned or you want to create, edit it for it. Now this is how your supervisory organization will look like whenever you create it. This is something that only implementers can view. End user won't view this kind of supervisory organization. They will simply click on their profile and they will see their supervisory organization name here. I have shown you. Under their worker profile, they will have their supervisory to which supervisory organization they belong. So this is how it will look to them. If it is an end user. Always remember, this is you are doing it at the back end because you have the implementer access. That's the reason why you are creating it. You have the access to create a supervisory organization. So once you have created it and the member is hired under their supervisory organization, it would be visible like this HR services department. For example, If the supervisory organization of Jacqueline was this Anquita Corporation, then Anquita Corporation would be visible here. So this is how the back end of the supervisory organization will look like. And here the supervisory organization will come up for that particular employee. Now, coming to the edit part, any action, whenever you want to take action on anything, any object, any business object, where you will go to the related action. That means you want to take an action on that particular object. Go to a related action, supervisory organization. You can edit primary location. You can edit supervisory organization. You can edit the name or code of the supervisory organization. You have a number of data or actions to be taken on the supervisor that can be taken on the supervisory organization. You can do change top. You can manage work. Any number of things you can do on the supervisory organization. So yes, we have hard to stop because some of us have work. Yes, I'm going to. That's all for the 2 days. We have created a supervisory organization. We have to deal with the core HCM concepts, the basic 6 building blocks. And tomorrow we are going to deal with the subordinates creations. All your subordinates will be created. And plus the staffing model part, and we will quickly hop on and look into the additional organizations as well. Creation of the cost centers companies.